Going back to your communication with the salesperson, when you're requesting a quote, it's also called an estimate or a bid, um, and you're not committed to it. You'll get these estimates and you can compare them one to the other. Um, but once you commit to printing with the printer, then they turn your quote or your estimate into a job. And so that means that you've basically said, I'm going to print with you, make it a job. So they convert your estimate into a um, into a job ticket, and then that job ticket will start to move forward. So what happens is that they're going to ask you what date do you want this your printed product in your hands? What date do you want to have your product done in your hands, ready to pass out to your client? And then from there, they'll schedule everything backwards from there. So whether it has to be shipped to you, might have some days of shipping involved. And then backward from there, there'll be any bindery processes that have to happen. So cutting or folding or gluing. If it's gluing, does it have to be dried? If it's being made into books, there's the whole binding process. That takes days or weeks. And then backward from there is the printing time. And then backward from there, they'll have the pre-press time to pre-flight your jobs and run them through pre-press. And then from there, they'll say, okay, so we need your artwork into pre-press by this date in order for it to go through pre-press, printing, bindery, and shipping to get to you on the date that you want it in your hand. So it's pretty critical that you when you contact them that you know when you want it, and the dates can change, and the costs can also change. So when you get a quote, there's going to be a quote for it's going to cost $1,000 worth of paper to run this job. Well, the estimator, when he made that quote, he took the paper prices for that day, and paper prices change almost daily. Not by a whole lot, but over a week or two, they can move up or down significantly. And so by the time your job comes to print, the paper might be a different cost. Or by the time your job, you commit to printing with the printer and say it's going to be a job, then they can nail down and purchase the paper at that time because you're committed to them. And so they'll purchase the paper and that cost stays. So there can be fluctuation changes between the quote and the job price, depending on how you wait and things outside of the printer's control. But even when a job is going through the press, if you ask for a change or there's an error and you need a correction, there might be some changes to the cost of your job, even after what you were quoted. So when you do talk to the sales representatives, there's a few things you're going to want to have some information you're going to want to know and have on hand in order to get a quote started for you. So here's some of the basic things that you want to know. And you may not know the answers to all of these at the time that you start, but you can still start the process. You might have to be asking your supervisor or your client some clarifying questions. But basically, you're going to want to know the quantity, how many. If it's a book or a booklet, you're going to want to know the number of pages and whether it's a plus cover or a self cover. So self cover means that the cover of the book is the same paper stock as the pages, where a plus cover is that the cover of the book is a different paper stock as the pages, and they have to add a new paper. They have to add the cover onto it. You're going to want to know the page size and if it has a bleed. So what is the final trim size of the page? You're going to want to have an idea of what paper stock that it's going to go on. And this you'll work out with your sales representative. The salesperson knows paper that works well on their presses in their shop, but the salesperson also works with paper salespeople, paper suppliers. So the paper salesperson can tell the print salesperson, oh yeah, we've got these new papers, or here's this paper is out of stock. We don't have any of this paper, or the price is on papers. And so the print salesperson will be able to guide you through the paper selection process to what you want for your design goals, and also your cost and the availability of the paper, and what's going to produce a quality product on their press. So it's really important to communicate with your printer about that. You're going to want to know, tell them how many inks are going to be printed. Is it going to be black and white? Is it going to be a 4-color process job, which is your standard color printing? Are you going to have any spot colors, any varnishes? They need to know this so they can plan what presses it's going to run on, how many plates they're going to have to make, etc. And then any other bindery operations. Is there going to be any folding done to it, any cutting and book binding or gluing or stamping or any other operations that you want done to it? And with that basic set of information plus a due date, although the due date doesn't really affect the cost, the due date just your deadlines. With this basic set of information, you can start a quote and get a quote estimate delivered to you.